Yeah, so what's your name?
My name, Seth McDonald.
All right, so I'm going to tell you a story. I had the craziest morning. I woke up and I realized I was out of milk. So I ran to the store. On the way, I saw a clown riding a bicycle. Then I found a $5 bill on the sidewalk. I accidentally tripped over a curb. I bought a giant bag of Takis, and then right as I was leaving, I saw a stray dog wearing a tiny tuxedo. So what do you remember from the story?
You were out of milk, so you needed to go to the store. It was crazy because you saw a clown. Maybe the clown was on a bicycle. You saw $5 on the sidewalk. You tripped over a curb, and then you saw a dog in a tiny tuxedo.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your name?
Amelia Calhoun.
All right. So I'm going to tell you a story. The story is you're getting a new roommate next semester.
Okay.
Here's what I heard about him. He's incredible, neat, and organized. He's always on time with the rent. He's very quiet when he studies. He occasionally forgets to wash his dishes. And he sometimes plays his music a little too loud at night. So what's the main thing you remember for all of this? Like whatever I said.
He plays his music too loud.
All right, thank you so much.
Matt?
Matt. All right, so Matt, I'm going to tell you a story. The story says, I went on a date last night and it was actually perfect. We went to a fancy sushi place downtown. The conversation was effortless. We found out we both loved the same obscure 90s movies. We took a romantic walk by the river, and then as I was dropping them off, they leaned and they whispered that they think that the moon is a government hologram. Okay, so I was talking about all of this, what's the first thing you remember?
Well, you said they, and then, I mean, obviously the moon's a government hologram is probably a big detail.
All right, thank you so much.
You ready?
Yeah.
The old radio station on the edge of town has been silent for decades. Its towers leaning like a skeletal finger towards the sky. Locals said it burned down in the late 80s, taking the night DJ with it. But no one ever found his body. Still, every night at exactly 2:13, a faint signal would bleed through the static, a voice that seemed speaking directly to whoever was listening. Maria had heard the stories. People who tuned in claimed the voice knew things it shouldn't, and some of them were never seen again. She always laughed it off, but tonight curiosity outweighed the caution. She sat in her dark apartment, the only light coming from the faint glow of the radio dial. The static hissed softly, like a sleeping animal. Then, without warning, it shifted. A man's voice, low, rasping, spoke her name, not just her first name, her full name, the one she hadn't used since childhood. Her skin prickled as the voice began describing her surroundings, the chipped mug on the coffee table, the blanket draped over her knees, the window she left unlocked. She turned toward the window, her breath catching, and the voice chuckled softly. "Don't bother," it said. "I'm already inside." Her heart slammed against her ribs. She lunged towards the light switch, but the bulb popped with a sharp crack, plunging the room into darkness. The voice on the radio grew louder, closer, till it no longer sounded like it was coming from the speaker at all. It was in the room with her, whispering in her ear. The broadcast ended with a sound that didn't belong on a radio. A slow, deliberate knock 3 times. It came not from the speaker, but from the other side of her bedroom door. And then the knob began to turn.
Okay.
So, what do you remember from the beginning?
There was some radio show in the 80s, something about a tower leaning like a skeletal finger. It was, the girl's name's Maria. That's about it.
What stuck out most at the end?
She was in her bedroom, and I thought she was at some radio station. I think.
So, in the beginning, the radio station had burned down in the late 80s,
Okay.
but it was still broadcasting every night
Okay.
on a slow crackle.
Okay.
Is there anything else you can remember?
Yeah, it was like suspenseful. Like, she heard 3 knocks in her bedroom, a bunch of stuff. I remember something about her reaching for a light switch. It was like kind of creepy. Like, It was just this. It was a story about some radio station with crackling. It wasn't supposed to do, like, there wasn't supposed to be anything through. Dude ended up whispering in her ear, but it wasn't from the radio station. So was there someone in the room? But it was on the other side of the door. Who knows?
Alright. So what do you remember from the beginning?
From the very beginning,
From the very beginning.
the person that died,
Anything else?
the static in the radio that come through.
What about from the end?
The end, that he was there in the room with her.
Is there anything else you remember from the story?
Yeah, the doorknob was turning.
The doorknob turning.
Mhm.
Is that all you got? Is that all you remember from it?
Other than an abandoned radio station that's old. It was creepy. It sounded creepy to
What
me.
do you remember from the beginning?
You said it was a skeletal finger pointing towards the sky. What's that mean?
So the tower
Yeah,
burned
yeah.
up. It was just kind of
Yeah.
like leaning.
Oh, okay. So it looked like a skeleton's finger.
Yeah, kind
Oh,
of.
okay. That was throwing me off a little bit.
Anything
I was
else
off of that.
from the beginning?
No, it's really just that.
That's the only thing from the
I
beginning?
think so,
You
yeah.
can't remember anything else?
I mean, I know like the radio was playing a faint hiss. The guy died in the radio. It caught on fire and that's how the guy died?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
about from...
They never found his body though.
Yes.
Okay.
What about from the end?
From the end, well, I mean, you know, like, the dude being in the house or whatever seems like a pretty important detail, you know. But,
Any other details from it?
I mean, doors turning, the knocks, the window being unlocked, things like that.
Ready for a second one?
Sure.
Evan stepped out of the shower, steam curling around him, and wiped the mirror with the side of his hand. His reflection didn't move. It stood there, smiling faintly, eyes locked on him, as if it had been waiting. He froze, the towel clutched tight, his pulse hammering in his ears. Slowly, the reflection raised its hand, not to mimic him, but to press a finger to its lips in a gesture of silence. The bathroom light flickered, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat. When it steadied, the reflection was gone, leaving only the fog black. Evan exhaled shakily and reached for the door handle, desperate to leave. That's when he heard it, a faint, wet sound, like bare feet slapping against tile. Coming from behind him, he didn't turn. He couldn't. The whisper came, warm against his ear, though no one was there. You've been looking at me for years. Now it's my turn. Evan's hand tightened on the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. The mirror behind him began to rattle, the glass warping as if something inside was pressing against it. His reflection reappeared, but it wasn't standing still. It was walking towards him from deep within the glass, each step making the surface ripple like water. He pounded on the door, but the sound was swallowed by the mirror's low hum. The last thing he felt was a cold hand gripping his shoulder, pulling him back into the warped surface, leaving the bathroom empty except for a mirror that now showed no reflection at all.
Cool.
So
Read me some sci-fi stuff, bro.
now we're going to do it the other way. So what do you remember from the end?
The end. So this guy named Evan, he was trying to escape the room. The mirror was humming, so it, like the sound of him banging on the door, no one could hear it because the mirror was humming weird. There was nothing in the mirror as opposed to in the beginning there was. So it was like he was looking in the mirror. He's fresh out the shower, so he couldn't leave. He's in a towel, so he's not. Never mind. But yeah, so like he was trying to escape. He couldn't escape because there was something in the mirror, but there wasn't anything in the mirror.
Anything else you remember?
From the end,
From anything?
you want the beginning?
You can try it.
Okay, the beginning. Yeah, I remember the wet footsteps. I remember him wiping it with the side of his hand instead of the towel. I mean, if you're in the bathroom alone, like why not use the towel and then wrap up? So there was steam swirling around him, fresh out the shower. He was looking into the mirror. and he was looking what he thought was himself, but something else was looking at him. There was a line in there like he was looking in the mirror, and it was the same look that was always looking back at himself, but it wasn't him or something. And the wet footsteps, and that's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
All right, that's all I
A
got.
lot of useless details.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
So what do you remember from the end?
From the end, this is probably the middle though. All I could think about is the feet slapping on the floor.
The feet slapping?
Yeah, why are these so creepy?
What about from the beginning?
The etching in the fog.
The fog?
Yeah.
Any other details you can remember from the story?
Other than the man running from whatever it was.
Running? Alright. I think that's all we got for you then.
Thank you so much.
Did I pass?
Sure, thank you.
So what do you remember from the end?
And I'm in the mirror, it shows no reflection. You know, he's pressing up on the glass and everything. He's walking like the reflection kind of starts moving around and stuff, and being its own thing.
What do you remember from the beginning?
To gain, they step out of the shower. He's got to wipe off the mirror. I wonder if he wiped the whole mirror off, because it says he kind of just did one of these things, but this doesn't really cover much. So, you know, you kind of have to wipe the whole mirror down with your hand. Maybe he did that, maybe the detail just wasn't there. But the reflection's not doing anything. I think this guy needs to see a therapist or a schizophrenia doctor or something, man.
Do you remember anything else from the story?
Yeah, I mean, he's stressed out, lights are flickering. Yeah, freaky situation.
You remember any of the people's names?
The first guy was named Evan. The one from the first story was named Maria. Yeah.
Okay.
And those were the only two names I think you said.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Cool.
That's all.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.